Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the 100% Humboldt podcast with my new best friend, Steve Madrone. Hey, Steve.
Good afternoon, Scott.
How's your day?
It's going good.
Good.
Getting things done.
Appreciate getting things done. Glad you're here.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
So real quick, tell us what your job is, your name, rank, serial number. What are you all about?
Yeah, well, serial number C54. No.
Some guys know theirs, right?
Yeah, right. Well, I'm not giving out my social on air, that's for sure.
Mine is...
I guess that is our serial number.
There,
But,
I guess
at
it
any
would
rate, Steve Madrone, current 5th District Supervisor for Humboldt County. And 5th District, looking at your map, is everything north and east of the Mad River, except for the city of Blue Lake.
And the Mad River is like right here along 299, so it's
Sure
kind of
is.
this whole quadrant, right?
Yeah, the whole northern 2/5 of the county.
Jeez,
It's huge.
that's a big district,
It's
probably.
a really big district.
Compared to the rest of the state, that's probably geographically pretty big.
It's as big as some counties, right? So
That's true, yeah. Yeah. So Nick and I were debating, how long have you been a supervisor?
I'm in my 6th year, so 5.5 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Oh, I love it. It's
Is
a
it
great
fun?
job. I mean, there's a lot of difficult parts to the job. There's no doubt about that.
Sure.
And it's kind of a 24/7, even though we're not technically first responders. It sometimes feels that way with all the emergencies we have
Oh
here.
my gosh.
In Humboldt, we go from fire to flood, flood to fire, wind,
Crazy
on and on.
winter. Yeah.
But no, I really enjoy it. I consider it a privilege to be able to work with
Nice.
people and try to help solve problems, right?
I don't know. I'm sure people ask. It doesn't pay tremendously, right? There's
It's much less than the department heads
yeah,
or the sheriff.
Sure.
That's for sure.
yeah,
But it still pays quite a bit for Humboldt County's status. It's about
yeah.
about $100,000 a year.
So it's not a stipend. It's a wage.
It's a wage, unlike city council members or service district board members or
Yeah.
school board members who maybe they get mileage reimbursements or a very
Yeah.
small stipend, but they like a mayor of a city, gosh, I can only imagine how many hours that is
Oh my gosh.
in between your paid job, right, and everything else.
the morning calls, the text, and the
So it is a full-time job, and that's good because it is more than full-time work,
Mm-hmm.
frankly speaking.
Let me hit you with my 2 hardest questions that people really struggle with.
Okay.
You probably already have them. Who is Steve Madrone, and what do you want? That was my father-in-law's
Yeah.
genius question. And
Yeah.
most people go, I don't know who I am, or therefore I don't know what I want.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, who I am, I'm a newcomer. I've only been here 50 years.
Okay, you're fresh.
And it's interesting because I've met many people that lay a serious claim to being a local. They've been here 10 or 20 years, but they're
Sure.
a particular culture or a particular belief system or whatever, and somehow they think that that's the
That's
case.
local, yeah.
I say that not as a joke, frankly, but because our native peoples, as you know, have been here thousands of years.
Long time.
And there are a lot of other homesteaders and early settlers that, their families can trace back 100, 150 years as well. So
Sure.
I do see myself new in that way, but I have been here a long time, and
Mhm.
I've got 4 children, 19 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren.
Good for you, man.
Most of them live here in the county, and some on the property. We've got a few acres up in the area up above Trinidad and a couple of homes, and we're
Very
able
nice.
to kind of help take care of each
A
other.
compound.
It's a village. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Just
it's
like,
wonderful.
the native peoples had villages that were 30 to 50 so people, and those were extended families,
Good for you.
basically, So I feel lucky
19
to
grandkids.
see my
That's cool.
kids and grandkids as often as I do. It's a real blessing.
That's cool.
So that's who I am, and how long I've been here. But, what I want to see is us solving problems. Humboldt is an incredible place full of natural resources.
Oh, boy.
And incredible, hardy people.
Mhm.
And we always have a lot of challenges. And I live and breathe to try and
Yeah.
work with people and figure out how to move forward and get things done.
You triggered a thought of me. Larry Doss said people with grit.
Absolutely.
I thought that
Absolutely.
you said it in a different way. Perfect.
Well, and Larry would know, he's done a lot of work with getting people homes and helping to finance all that. He's also a rancher, as you may know. And
Sure.
I've enjoyed running into Larry over the last year and a half.
That's cool.
Seeing each other
Yeah.
at different or at community service district meetings, things like that.
Funny story that you'll remember. Nick doesn't hear this. So first letter to the editor I ever wrote to endorse a candidate was Larry Doss.
Yeah.
And so
That was your first. Wow.
he's first ever. And guess who I would run into in Trinidad at
Of
the
course.
parking lot,
Yeah.
campaigning a couple days before. And hey, Steve, how's it going? You were very gracious. I go, hey, Scott. And, hey, I liked your letter to the editor in the Journal.
Well,
I go, this is awkward, and you made it cool. You were gracious.
we both stayed above board. We dealt with the issues that were in front of us, I think, and I appreciate that because we saw in the recent assembly race, there was some pretty kind of, this stuff that people don't like to see, the really negative ad
The
type of
judge
stuff
race,
going out
right?
there. Judge race, the assembly race.
Did Greg lose? Did he end up losing?
He did lose, yeah.
And they dropped all that data on him right before the election.
There's always a lot of interesting stuff in politics.
Isn't that timely? It's so weird that happened. How did they get that data and drop it to the news? Yeah. Different story. So what do you're a problem solver. That's what you want to do, is solve some problems.
Yeah.
What do you see as our, I don't know, top, I always joke in my life, in my home and my grandkids, top 3 takeaways. If you were to say top 3 issues that we face as a county, how would you rank? What are they just generally?
Well, healthcare has got to be right up there, up top. I mean, our healthcare system's fallen apart at every angle, with the lack of workers wanting to get into the profession, how difficult it is for the workers that are in the profession. Like if you go to the ER room, at St. Joe's or Mad River, and you see the, overwhelming need.
Oh, boy.
And, it's easy to see burnout and all kinds of other issues.
Yeah.
Young people that are coming into the medical profession don't want to get into personal practice because of malpractice lawsuits and other kinds of issues. So they're looking to work for a hospital or a clinic or whatever. Right. And we don't have nearly enough of them, and we don't have enough housing, not only for them, but working class families, as well as our large our population of people experiencing homelessness.
Sure.
So that's another huge issue, the mental health issues, the public health, mental health, our healthcare system. People experiencing homelessness due to lack of housing, and there are a lot of reasons for all of that.
Sure.
Proposition 1 has some really good things in it. It just barely squeaked by in the recent March election.
Tell us about that.
But some of them, there's going to be care court, there's going to be more hospital beds and other kinds of things happening across the state, but it's going to divert money away from some of our very important preventative programs like what's called HCTC, Humboldt County Transitional Age Youth Programs, that is preventative. They're out there working with young people who are having all kinds of problems, and they're helping to mentor them. They're helping them develop job skills.
Is that Youth Bureau?
It's part of DHHS, Department of Health and Human Services, and then there's a Hope Center. And we have a hospital here. We're lucky to have one, Semper Vivens, but it's ancient. And we all know it needs
many
to be
beds,
rebuilt. Not very many beds. We don't have youth beds.
Yeah.
So I would say, the 3 H's. How's that sound? Hammond. No, wait.
No, that's me.
Yeah, that's you. That's the trail. That's a bunch of other history.
Hammond Trail. Yeah, we own the trail. Did you know that?
A. Hammond family goes way back here on Humboldt.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. Into the early lumbering and such. Hammond Lumber, Hammond Railroad.
They had a monopoly on the redwood industry at one time.
They had most of the holdings. Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
Explain that. There was a monopoly buster that came in, and they did GP and LP.
Yep, split them up. Yeah, that was back in the late 60s, early 70s, I think.
So we'll come back to the 3 H's.
The 3 H's.
Housing,
homelessness, and healthcare. Yeah.
Good. That's an easy way to kind of corral it.
Not that there aren't a lot of other problems to start with other letters like R or roads.
Yeah.
And many other things, right?
D for drugs.
Drugs coming in, being produced, all of that stuff. So plenty to work on, right?
There's no lack of
issues.
Projects.
Yeah.
So tell me, early Steve, what you came up 50 years ago. So class, you must have came to Humboldt in 75 for
73.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. I came to go to school and become a forester.
Yeah, me too.
So
Who did?
A lot of people did.
Who did?
Because Humboldt was well known as the forestry school in America, unless you were going to a higher level like Yale or some of the other places, right? But Humboldt was the place. I was a Boy Scout growing up in Orange County in the 60s,
nice.
50s and 60s.
What town?
In Anaheim originally. So we were a mile and a half from Disneyland.
And it's all orange groves.
We'd ride our bicycles through the orange groves. Hang out up front, get free tickets from people leaving.
Sweet.
And the entrance fee was $1.25.
Yeah.
Right? So,
and now it's $1.25.
$100.25.
That's right.
Or more.
It's probably more.
$200.25. Yeah.
The joke is that when you live by Disneyland, you don't go much, but you guys.
Oh, we did all the time. But I spent most of my time on the only place you can touch the earth in Disneyland.
Oh, the island.
Tom Sawyer's Island.
Yeah.
Where there's actual dirt.
Oh, we used to go out there and smoke.
And you're running around in the caves and all this stuff.
We'd go out there and smoke weed and crazy. But you were a Boy Scout, so you didn't do that.
No, didn't do that. No, I came to Humboldt to figure that one out.
Yeah.
But
my story's opposite. I came up and got sober from being a feral child in San Diego.
Yeah.
In 78. So you're way older than I am.
Well, I guess so. Yeah, 71.
Yeah, that's funny.
But, growing up as a Boy Scout, the main thing we did was went camping a lot.
Sure.
And that got me to the Eastern Sierras, up to Mammoth and other places.
Nice.
And I was like, wow, there's more to the life than Orange County,
right.
which was being suburbanized, pretty rapidly. Everything was being cut down.
And now it's a mess.
All the trees and stuff. It is. The congestion, just everything. It's kind of outgrow its means, right? Which is a basic tenet to maybe pay attention to. And so people ask you when you're young, Scott, what are you going to be when you grow up? And you'd say, a forest ranger.
Forest ranger, of course.
That was what I would say. And I meant it because everybody I'd see when I went camping, I thought was a forest ranger.
Weren't they cool?
Whether they were in the store or the campground or wherever. They're all forest rangers.
Everybody's a ranger of some. Who is it?
And it was this dream of, wow, wouldn't it be neat to live in a place where most people like to go to recreate, on their vacation.
And have fun.
And actually live there,
It turns out it's pretty much law enforcement.
Yeah, well, that's exactly.
My friend Brian's a ranger.
It was that or, laying out to harvest plans to cut down trees. And I wanted to plant trees. I wanted to do forest health work. I wanted to do watershed work. And
was that your major at Humboldt?
My major was natural resources.
Okay.
And it was a 5-year major, believe it or not, when it first was created, because what you did was you took a little bit of every science and economics and social science and psychology.
It's a great
So
major.
you took a little bit of everything, which meant you were being trained as a generalist, but with the potential to become a specialist in any number of fields if you just took a few more classes.
Like a business major, then master's in whatever.
Yeah, economic development.
So you have the basis of calculus and physics and chemistry, right?
Well, especially all those as a bachelor's, but then I came back to Humboldt before it was Cal Poly in 26, and in 2011 got my master's there in watershed management.
Oh, wow.
And hydrology, wildland hydrology.
So you know Terry Roloffs?
I do. I know Terry quite well.
A great guy.
He was one of the professors, along with Dr. Rudy Becking and others, that had this vision to create the Natural Resource Department because everybody was kind of doing their own thing.
Because he was fishery, right? He was
here's fisheries, here's soils, here's wildlife, here's forestry, and they were all their own different thing. And there was no integration.
And they brought it under.
So the idea was, let's have that all integrated and create some programs where people learned a little bit about all those things.
Genius.
So that was Humboldt State, really very innovative.
Yeah, Terry's a great guy.
Yeah.
Remember the cluster program was a general ed program?
Yeah.
So we were part of that. So all of his hippie feral children got to do, you'd really like this. It's quarter system. You get 20 units pass fail.
Yep.
And you got to show up. There's no tests, no grades, but you had to
participate,
show up and participate. And probably you go, wow, come on. It was the best thing ever.
Yeah.
The people and all the disciplines came in, like Terry and different people, and taught us well. It was good.
And there was that house up on the hill.
The Buck House. Yeah. The old Buck House, the alternative energy.
Which now they've actually down the hill a little ways, but right there under the BSS building, they've got their own operation there that
that's what I've heard.
Shows how to do gray water systems.
The whole nine.
Or, stormwater runoff, rainwater gardens.
You remember the yurt that was back
Absolutely,
there?
Absolutely, yeah.
The yurt. So we had all of our classes in the Buck House.
Yeah, up on the hill.
It was great, yeah. Those were good times.
It was the last little kind of wild place on the campus until they needed to build the 5-story BSS building.
Really beautiful there, yeah. My wife and I met in that program.
Huh? Wonderful.
I think you met Joni, probably.
Yeah, probably have.
Hey, Joni, how you doing, sweetie?
At one of those events we go to, chamber events or something else.
Probably some, I think we did. So you came up from Orange County when Orange County was a nicer village.
Yeah.
And stayed here. Did you meet your wife and buy property? And
she came to the dorms at Humboldt the same semester I did. I always joke that I saw her across the room and fell in love.
Sure.
It was actually several years later that we met. But yes,
cool.
I did see her and fell in love right there on the spot. And we've been together now 44 years.
Bless you guys.
So
awesome.
We're very lucky, I feel, in this world.
And 4 kids that created 19 grandkids. Yes. That's really cool.
Well, 6 of those were adopted foster kids.
That's
so you
wonderful.
can, build your numbers really quick if
Better
you want
yet.
to take in even more.
That's
and
great.
So bless my daughters, the family, for bringing those kids into our family. And there's a lot of challenges, but boy, they're so much better off having been adopted than just staying in the foster system or not having anybody,
So are you the patriarch of the village?
I am, apparently. So but
They
I
let
wouldn't say I'm the leader.
Your wife lets you do that every day sometimes?
I go to the women to get most of my permits. Like if I need to mow, there's the wildfire committee I have to go to.
You got to go through them
and
get ratified.
It's good. I love it.
Oh, man.
It's some people are threatened by strong women, but I am not. I admire them.
It's a team.
I think they rule the world and they're stepping up in Humboldt. If you look around, more and more boards are becoming a majority, if not almost entirely, women who have stepped up for positions on city council, school boards, and they got the long-term family at heart, right?
One of my first guests was Bethany Shea from Catalyst Church. She's,
wonderful.
You know Bethany and Jason?
I don't think
right
I
across
do.
from the co-op, we got a church, and she's had dinner with them last night in Blue Lake. She's tremendous.
Nice. Wonderful.
Yeah, a girl pastor. Everybody, who would have figured?
You know, the world's changing, and we can either get angry about it and fight each other on petty, stupid little things, or we can try and find that common ground and see the good in each other and find out places we can work together on stuff. You know?
Or going advanced maturity philosophy with Joni and I is let's get curious.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, he's a Trumper. Oh, he loves Biden. Oh, he loves women pastors. What's
all of a sudden
what's
you've
up
got
with that?
Commonality. Yeah,
Talk to me. What's that? How do you figure that?
Yeah. And then when you think about the effect on your own health of just being angry all the time and blaming everybody else, like the problem all exists somewhere else, as compared to loving yourself, recognizing your frailty, working on the things you can change, because you can't really change anybody else.
No.
But we can change ourselves.
Sometimes.
If we want to. It's not easy. But there's a lot of support out there to do that if we seek it out.
That's my joke. I'm not good at anybody. I can barely do me day to day.
And it's a full-time job, right?
It is a full-time job.
Plus,
so the top 3 issues, the 3 H's, what would be, I don't know, early first steps for health? I mean, we got Destination Humboldt, bringing doctors in and early for training and residency and doing paying their debts. So kind of I'm actually part of that, which is really cool.
Yeah.
That seems to be a proactive move.
It is. Well, the biggest overarching umbrella is healthcare for all.
Right.
Which has been on the platform for a long, long, long time, but never seems to quite happen. And I would say that's the power of the pharmaceutical corporations and insurance companies.
Yeah.
Not any dig at you and your profession. Because
we're not that big.
I've been with State Farm for 40-some years. So, and I've had great service and great care. So in no way would I want to disparage the hard work that people do and the difficult decisions in a world with fire and loss and everything else. But within the healthcare system, it is well known that actually adopting that. Now, government's not great at running anything, right?
Yeah.
So, trying to get something to become more government regulated has its own pitfalls. There's no doubt about that. But the way things go right now is pharmaceuticals are the richest lobbying entity on the planet, bar none.
Yeah.
More than defense, more than oil, energy, any of it.
Part of the broken lobby system.
And so things don't happen that are going to affect the bottom line there. And what that is it's taken out of the people and the lack of health care or the cost of it. And, I just had a conversation with St. Joe's today about things that are going to have to change there because of the bottom line. And so we've got to fix that. And as a county official, I know for a fact that the county would save millions of dollars in terms of its health insurance plans and all the rest of it if we had healthcare for all systems in place. So there's a lot of money to be saved and better care to be acquired. It's not easy. It hasn't worked everywhere perfectly. There is that's the one thing you first have to realize in anything in life, right, is perfect's not on the table. It's just not. But there are ways to make things better.
Yeah.
And I think we got a lot of work to do in that arena.
Yeah. The Open Door Clinic has come up a couple times.
Yeah.
You were early in Herman Spetzler and when it was in the little was it in Tin Can Mailman in the old building there?
Yeah, that was maybe, it was
early on.
Bounced around in several places for sure. Yeah.
That's become
without them, they're half the system in Humboldt.
Right.
And then you got Mad River and St. Joe's. But without Open Door and North Country Clinic,
my goodness.
They're covering a lot of bases. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And they are nonprofit. And so they run from a different model. Not that they don't also struggle with costs and everything else, So
how could they not? Everything's gone up.
Everybody does, yeah. So no simple solutions. I don't actually have to be the one responsible for making it happen, but if I have a microphone in front of me and I can speak to what I believe should happen, you bet.
Yeah.
That's part of the solution.
And how about homelessness? What are your initial... Hey, could you fix homelessness
Yeah,
today?
well, I get that a lot. And Prop 1, like I said, is going to take away from some of these preventative systems. And so what happens is the outcome of that is that more people will fall through the cracks and potentially, juveniles as well as adults end up experiencing homelessness. One of the things I try to tell people in my district and that I talk to in the county is that, you probably already have homeless camps nearby you. If there's a wooded area near you, there's homeless camps in there. There's at least one, if not multiple camps in that area. And there's no sanitation, there's no garbage, there's no way to bring services to them. And it's a horrible life for them as well as others. Now, there's some that no matter what you do, no matter what programs you create, they're going to still live in the woods.
Right.
And that has to do with all kinds of other choices and decisions and conditions that they may be experiencing.
Let's dart throw. What do you think that percentage is? Third, half
of the population
that would just stay. That would stay in the woods.
Of the people experiencing
that would just choose the woods.
Could be as much as a third.
Okay.
Some places it might be only 10 or 20%.
Okay.
But it's significant. But the more significant number is the other side of that 100% puzzle, which is, 60 to 80% of the people, if given half a chance, could probably turn their lives around.
Right.
That requires resources. And some people have no empathy for that. They think that, they should just make better choices and get their lives together.
Serves them right.
These are not all people, and many of them aren't just people that have just gone and decided to be this way. They're dealing with mental health issues that only get worse in a condition where you can't get a shower but once a month or whatever it might be. Some of them might be people that just got an injury and got prescribed opioids, and before they knew it, the prescriptions ran out and they were addicted, and then they started getting them on the street, and then they lost their home and their job, and things unraveled. I mean,
or my wife left with my best friend, and
we all
lost my job and drank myself to death. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Reasons for why these things happen. So we can either play that blame game, or we can say, who can we help and how do we help them? And what I try to say to people is that you already have these camps in your neighborhood. So would you not necessarily be jumping up and down excited, but could you feel that you would be willing to see if it works and have some sanctioned camps nearby where there's, management on site, there's facilities for garbage, showers.
How does that work across the nation?
Well, we can.
Are there good stories?
We get examples all over of problems where it failed and problems where it worked.
Okay.
Sacramento's been experimenting with different approaches all for a long time. Chico has several hundred trailers they put on some surplus property that are like little tiny home units and stuff. We've got a modular plant out in Hoopa that's been shuttered forever and could be running again. I'm working with the tribe and Senator McGuire to see if we can get funding to open it up.
Doesn't Betty Chin have something?
Betty Chin has stuff. Arcata House Partnership has all kinds of different programs they're doing with the city, the county, with DHHS. So if somebody came forward, we need nonprofit partners, but if they step up and they're willing to partner with the county and get the funding they need, like Arcata House and others, wouldn't it be better to have a sanctioned camp, a sanctioned safe parking lot, maybe still nearby in your neighborhood, but it's got all these better qualities about it? Wouldn't that be better than what you have right now? I know it's not what you'd like. What you'd like is not to have any homeless that you have to see or something. I don't know what it is, but and get people with a lot of empathy and those that have almost no empathy for solving the problem and think it's a handout and it's, whatever. I don't know. I believe people are doing their best, and if they're in the situation they're in, it's for reasons that if you spend a little time with them, you might start understanding.
Yeah, empathy, it's in short supply.
But it's not easy. It's probably one of the hardest problems to solve, but so is healthcare.
Yeah.
Even roads is a tough problem to solve,
Sure.
I mean, everything requires resources.
Right.
And we're living in an age right now where they're getting seemingly more limited.
Right.
The cost of living on every level is going up.
Gosh.
And people are going, what do I pay? My PG&E bill or go pick up my meds? Or what?
Can we talk about gas real quick?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, right. Humboldt, you can go anywhere and it's cheaper.
Gosh, it's $5.89.
Anywhere, that's the good news.
Good
Anywhere
Lord.
you go, if you go on a trip, it's cheaper.
We were in Boise, Idaho 2 weeks ago. It was $3.39.
Same thing in New Mexico.
It's crazy. It's like, are you kidding? And so
it's the gas tax in California. It's the cleaner gas that we are required to burn for air emission control. So that's a special blend that costs a lot more money to produce. We have a limited number of refineries.
But even Redding has much cheaper gas.
Redding does, the Central Valley on down and others. It may be $1 cheaper. So then you're in the 4-something range.
Yeah. Is it $1 a gallon to transport it up? I know a couple of the guys actually that
comes up by barge, right? And it gets offloaded into the depot there in Eureka by the mall. And then from there it gets trucked out, and supplied to everybody. And
well, a lot of the casinos have cheaper gas.
They do.
It can be done.
Well, they don't pay the gas tax.
Okay.
And there are a few other things I think they
There's
don't
a reason
get.
then, okay.
And, speaking of roads, I mean, the gas tax is not going to cover the cost of highways anymore once we go more and more electric. So the state's looking at a use tax, maybe using your GPS to track where you've been, Scott. And then,
Wow.
well, okay, you were 5 miles on county roads, 100 miles on state highway,
Wow.
And
Big brother.
Yeah,
Here's your bill.
Yeah,
Here's your bill, bro.
Let's see how that one works, right? So,
You use the highway.
oh, look, Scott was at Steve's house today. What the heck's going on there?
What was he doing up there at the village?
Right.
So I'm hesitant to talk about the insurance crisis in California because I'm a State Farm agent, and
well,
I have to be kind of careful to kind of never speak for the company, and I'm not going to do that. But the truth is, Ricardo Lara and the commissioner and the fires and the consumer watchdogs have repressed rates for a long time.
Yep.
And now the California Fair Plan, $300 billion in exposure with $1 billion in the bank.
Yeah.
It's like, what's even happening?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't expect you to fix that or maybe even comment much.
Fair plan doesn't seem all that fair for those that have been forced.
It's been called the unfair plan.
I think it's common news. If not, people might hear it here. But part of the reason why State Farm and Allstate and others said we're not going to write new policies in the state of California was that bottom line, that they are responsible to their shareholders and others to adhere to, in order to stay in business in this world that we have in America. And the rates have not been allowed to adjust over time. Right. And they were always figured out on past hazards versus projection of future hazards.
Cost of materials, cost of labor.
And yet we now have so many better tools to be able to actually assess future hazard. We know a lot more about home hardening and steps that we as individual homeowners can do to help our homes survive a wildfire. We have more exemptions from CAL FIRE that allow you to go out 150 feet from your home and do significant clearing cutting. I'm getting ready to sell my first load of logs off of my property because it's 7 acres. Is cut 40 years ago, and so there's 40-year-old sprouts that are now 2-foot diameter.
Nice.
And I'm limbing them up 50 feet high. My son's my faller climber. My grandkids are my swampers.
Nice.
We got a family crew going.
A logging operation
with my company. I'm now a licensed timber operator.
Wow.
And with all those exemptions, we can see that there are going to be a lot of landowners like myself that are not only going to do the work around their own home, but across my whole property.
Sure. With
Natural Resource Conservation Service assistance and funding, as well as working with my neighbors to make it more of a neighborhood approach of fuel reduction.
That's cool.
And fire prevention activities, along with we set up a NEST team, a neighborhood emergency support team with a phone tree. Wow. We've developed an emergency evac route to the east through Green Diamond Land, thanks to their incredible cooperation.
Wow. Because
we're on a dead-end road like many people are in Humboldt.
Green Diamond.
And how do you get out if the fire starts below you?
Green Diamond.
Well, that's it, because everybody butts up against Green Diamond, or in southern Humboldt, a little Humboldt Redwood.
That's a good company,
I think those kinds of things are fantastic. And so, what I'm hoping,
that's a great model that you're talking about.
It is.
Hard stop. It is.
And
I think
the
future.
What people are hoping for is that we will soon get past the current approach to insurance rates on an individual property that is being based on broad brushstroke maps or broad data, not site-specific site inspections that say, you know what, these people have done everything right. And yes, they live in a forest environment, but they have done all of the things to help their property survive, to avoid liability, and adjust the rates appropriately to the site. I know that costs a little bit more money, but every landowner would be willing to pay a couple extra $100 for a site visit to get an accurate rate rather than tens of thousands of dollars of increased rate.
Bigger still, a safe environment.
For everybody. Yeah. You're doing the right thing.
Yeah, and for the entire hillside, And
if you don't have insurance right now, or you're finding it hard to get it renewed or this or that, whatever, put your money into home hardening and doing all the things that actually might protect your home in the first place.
Nice.
Insurance doesn't protect your home.
No.
It pays you if you lose it.
But the bank wants you to have it.
Yes.
Sadly, they don't even want you. They demand that.
Oh, yeah. And especially if you're selling a property and somebody's coming in to buy it, it's pretty much creating all kinds of chaos.
And that's what makes everybody sick.
In that real estate field,
That poor young couple that just qualified and they're in the escrow and they're ready to sign. And, oh, wait, insurance is triple. We're bumped out of the deal. Yeah, what?
And it's not just an extra 1,000. It's 5, 10, 15,000 kinds of stuff that we're hearing.
Money. So what are you hearing from Sacramento generally around what What are they saying? And is there?
Well,
There's. I mean, it's a crisis. They've seen this 4 or 5 years ago.
Absolutely, it's two-part, at least two-part. One's in the insurance commissioner's realm. The other's in the Cal Fire. The fuel and fire.
He's going
realm.
away, right?
He's going away, and some talk is that McGuire, according to his website, said that he might be considering insurance commissioner. That's kind of a step sideways, or I don't know what you would call that.
He's got enough energy, man.
He's got enough energy to handle anything, pretty much.
Yeah.
But maybe he'll actually. Then he could go to being the healthcare guy, and then he can
recycling.
No, McGuire is amazing. I mean, you see him at a town hall, and he's a spark plug. He
Mr.
covers
Auction,
a lot
man.
of ground.
It's like, what espresso is that man drinking? I mean, he's just like
he's a dynamo.
He is like Mr. Energy. The dude works out or something.
Well, you can tell he's younger than us, right?
Way younger.
Younger than me.
Younger. Well, you're the one with advanced maturity.
Yeah.
So 3 H's: homeless, health. What was the third one?
Housing.
What are you thinking on that?
Well, there's several things. Again, every issue you can point to has its details. With housing, we've added a lot of costs to it, like sprinklers.
Mm-hmm.
That's good for fire protection, right? It saves the home.
Sure.
Maybe causes some sheetrock damage, but hey, you still got a home.
But it's expensive.
It's expensive. Solar, parking requirements, or like a big subdivision like the McKay track being required to do all kinds of bike lanes and electrification of everything, and a transit stop or two, and this and that. And
do they have to do a park?
Off-site stuff.
You have to do park, green space?
All kinds of extra requirements that we as a society would like to see happen.
Mm-hmm.
And they may be worthwhile pieces.
Yeah.
The question for me has been, who pays for that?
Yeah.
And if we, so a big 300 home, whatever that is, size development has been delayed for decades because of those added costs.
We have friends with a lot there, yeah.
The person who is the developer feeling like it just doesn't quite pencil out at the level he feels the need to take those risks and make that investment.
Sure.
Because it is a risk. It's still an investment. Yeah, there's a housing demand, but still, will they sell at the price you need to sell them at in order to recoup your costs, right? And that's the penciling out that they do.
It's a dice throw.
It is a total dice throw. And so there's getting to be less and less contractors willing to build housing. And, just looking at it locally, right? And I'm sure this is compounded statewide.
Sure.
Because those things. So shouldn't we maybe have public programs that help provide those additional things? Like for a long time, we had solar tax credits that paid 35 to 50% of the effort.
Love that.
But a lot of that went away or has been
went
declined.
bye-bye, right?
Yeah. And then not only that, but then they said anybody new coming on solar won't get to spin the wheel backwards, which was always, the cost of insulation minus a tax credit, minus the money you'd save every month because you're turning the wheel back during the high sun months, right? And
so
stuff.
It's less attractive.
But now PG&E won't even buy that power. So there's some serious complications to the housing issue, including land use planning. And when I work with developers, I always try to help them embrace the wetlands or the other unique characters of the property. So often those things are seen as just problems. They're going to be associated with various costs to deal with, mitigate for the wetland filling or whatever it might be. And I never see it that way, but again, I'm trained in natural resources and land use planning. And so for me, I see those as assets. Everybody loves to have a restaurant with a veranda overlooking duck ponds.
Of course.
And guess what? The ducks don't care. You're sitting there watching them, they don't care, Frogs don't care.
Right.
A lot of wetland qualities are actually replicable even in urban environments, and stuff. So what I try to do is help developers embrace those qualities of the property they live on and turn them into assets in their design that help them with stormwater retention, runoff, stormwater filtering, as well as creating wetlands and benefits.
Kind of like We Are Up did with Mary Keene and the project.
That's exactly right.
She did a really good job.
The neighbors there should really recognize the incredible luck they have in having somebody like her come in.
Unstoppable with their complaints.
I understand their complaints, but at some point I think it becomes somewhat unreasonable given what the other options are, such as HSU. Cal Poly could come in and buy it and build whatever they wanted with no say on anybody's part whatsoever.
Yeah. Come on, guys.
So,
let's get reasonable quick.
Again, there's no perfect. And she has bent over backwards with her team of people to create an amazing development. And it's going to cost money to sustain it. So they're trying to create an event center within reasonable bounds of parking, hours of operation, noise control.
So there's a limit in which the public can complain, and then at a certain point, they've been heard, mitigations have been
As terms
approved.
of legal process,
Yeah.
yes. But, one can cause by appealing and threatening to sue and doing different things, and certain lawyers are pretty gnarly at this. They're kind of known as the person you want to hire for a project like this to go after.
Obstructionist mofos.
Yeah. I mean, they're on all sides,
Did
right?
I cuss?
We got
Yeah, no, I have no room for that. It's like,
stuff on both sides that way. And frankly, all that does is raises the cost for everybody, and lawyers make more money and they win in the end.
and you delay this.
both sides have lost.
A
frankly.
world-class project gets
Yes.
delayed for years.
With high need. Seniors with disabled youth. I mean, hello, seniors. I mean, it's always been the thing, right? That little kids have a ton of energy, but no wisdom yet. Although I will say, I think when they're born, they're given all the wisdom of the world. And then our job as parents is to minimize the loss along the way, right? So
don't leak too much out.
yeah. At any rate, then you got the middle folks that are working, to make ends meet, and then you got the old folks that have a lot of wisdom but not a lot of energy. So it's always been a thing where you take the old folks and put them with the little young folks.
It's going to be
and
cool.
combine those things together.
Cal Poly students. It's going to be a great project.
Absolutely.
So real quick, back to housing, and then I want to talk about 5th District projects like We Are Up, and then we'll wrap. The parking situation down in Old Town and downtown is, I realize you're not city council, but you probably have some opinions on that. How would you weigh in on what they're proposing, where that's going?
Oh, with the conversion of parking lots into housing.
Correct.
Well, I believe they've done studies in regards to the use of those lots and seen what capacity they're at over time. And I've seen that they're rarely at full capacity or even half capacity. And it depends on which parking lot you're talking about. Sure. Some of them are down in Old Town, but one of them's right at the Eureka City Hall. Right there on 5th Street, which is downtown, not Old Town.
Yeah.
So I think it varies quite a bit. I mean, I think often there's a push on the part of certain individuals that really want to see us get to more transit, more electric vehicles, more issues that'll help us with our climate issues and stuff like that. And that's where this stuff comes from. But sometimes that push to do that is out in front of us actually transitioning to something different. So it becomes very painful, for people to lose parking and be able to stop and park right next to where they're at. And yet in a tourist economy, you might note that the downtowns and old towns that have been restored with the greatest economic positive effect are the ones where you park outside of the district and you walk in.
Right. Or they have high rise or underground.
And they might have some little trolleys that run around to be able to move people around that are a little less mobile and things like that. But people flock to those kinds of places, those pedestrian-friendly environments.
Right.
And nobody would argue that we have a great transit system. We have a great set of staff and board members running a transit system, but it still isn't meeting the needs of the community as a whole. I mean, I wish we could find a way for the county just to pay for the fare so it was free and we'd have increased ridership dramatically. And there needs to be more runs on the weekends and the evenings. The Willow Creek run is the one that has the greatest use of any of them in the whole,
pretty big deal, right?
county. It's because those students are coming into high school, in the morning to Arcata or McKinleyville, and that bus is a huge connection for all those families.
Oh, I love it.
Plus, it's now working with the Yurok tribe, going all the way, Hoopa Yurok tribes going all the way up to Wichpeck.
Wow.
And a little bus comes in from Pequon that brings them to Wichpeck.
Way up there.
And then Orleans is a feeder. And so,
I'll show you where that is.
Again, that's
way up here.
That's not Humboldt. No, come on.
That's probably, there's Siskiyou.
It's
there's Orleans.
And Trinity. Yeah,
that's the map. Yeah.
It is. Most people don't realize Orleans is in Humboldt County.
Oh, yeah.
The great northeast.
Is Pequon in?
Pequon's in Humboldt, downriver to Johnson's.
Right.
And then from there down, the boundary is south of the river.
What a beautiful area.
So like Klamath is just north of the boundary. It's in Del Norte.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, big district. Lots going on. 8 out of 9 of the recognized tribes are in that district. Right?
So tell us what's happening in the district real quick. Obviously, We Are Up, and then Humboldt, Life Plan Humboldt is going to be built in McKinleyville.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on. It is useful to talk about it by area. So McKinleyville is the most populated area in the 5th District and is the second largest non-city city.
Right, in the world.
And there's a lot of momentum going on working with Cal Poly Humboldt and a committee of the McKinleyville Municipal Advisory Committee, or MICMAC, that is working on incorporation exploration and gathering data, because the thing that's never happened around that discussion of should we incorporate or not is, well, what are the total revenues? What are the total expenses on the part of the county?
Never ran the numbers.
The numbers aren't collected that way.
Huh.
Like, for instance, the sheriff is the whole Northern Area Command, including Orleans and Oric,
Right.
not just McKinleyville.
So the way it's looked at,
So I was able to get the board to direct department heads to start tracking the money differently so we could get the numbers for McKinleyville in particular. But all these districts would like to know, how much are you collecting from us? How much are we getting back? You know, that kind
Funny
of thing.
that's not been done.
Isn't that an interesting concept, you know, of accountability?
Because numbers are pretty important. They tell
pretty
stories.
Important. So anyway, once we have all that data, we can get past these arguments one side or the other, or fear factors like, oh, my taxes will go up. Well, only if you vote to raise your taxes. Nobody does that to you.
Right.
That's something you vote for.
Right.
And if you're going to have better roads or better sheriff more deputy service or whatever it might be, you might vote for it, you know, like Measure Z or Measure O that passed with 70% of the vote, right? So that's a big thing in McKinleyville. And like you said, senior housing, Life Plan Humboldt has got a lot of momentum.
Big deal.
Working with the Pearson family and Pearson in particular.
Great.
South of Hiller Road and west of Central, back in there where all the eucalyptus trees are.
Thank you, Pearsons.
Yeah.
Shout out.
That family has been amazing
A great
to
family.
this county and community. And Ann has this vision of creating a town center for McKinleyville.
Imagine that.
So it wouldn't just continue to be this strip mall along Central Avenue anywhere USA.
So you were here when it was
chain stores.
Open sewers, right, on Central?
Open sewers with brown trout floating in the
Really
in the
gross.
Yeah.
and our guy going, oh, no.
Oh, no. And, you know, it was also a much smaller town. There was all the cypresses lining the road down by the Mill Creek Marketplace and all that stuff. But she has a vision, and we've now completed with the MICMAC and the community's engagement, county planning department staff dedicating a lot of time for 3 years to put together a town center draft ordinance.
Wow.
And that's now got an EIR being completed on that.
That's cool.
When that's done, it'll come back before the board for approval of
Where would that be?
behind Safeway.
Behind Safeway?
Everything from Safeway.
That big field.
That whole massive big field, one of the last big areas in McKinleyville too.
With the homeless.
There are not that many camps in that particular area because there's cows in there.
Yeah.
That's
you don't want to camp with the cows.
Yeah, somehow that's a deterrent, I guess.
Smells bad.
Yeah. But anyway, great vision on her part. Good work by the MICMAC and the Community Service District. You know
Scott
that's one of the best. I do. Scott's the current president of the board.
Great guy.
He's
on the show.
Yeah, he's done the trash bashes forever with Pack Out Green.
Scott Bender, shout out.
He's been there forever and ever on all kinds of things. He's, the face on Facebook.
He's
so many
kind
informational.
Of unofficial mayor, right?
He is in a way. He is. Yeah, absolutely.
First mayor.
Yeah. So.
What a neat guy.
And he's the senior resource center director. And
Correct,
so they're so grateful to have him as well.
It is a great job.
And there's other housing projects happening. McKinleyville is a place that is still growing, and thankfully so. More and more of those projects are becoming multi-storied rather than just single-story homes. For a good reason, because we do need more housing. So a lot of growing pains there. Roads are a mess because it's unincorporated. Half the roads are private and gravel and a mess.
Hey, help me with this. On North Central down by the Clam Beach Inn?
Yeah.
That's scheduled for paving?
Yes. So from Grange Road all the way down to the beach, there's going to be overlays happening and repaving on that.
So it'll happen.
It will happen. It's in the budget. It was budgeted by
Gosh, what a mess
HCOG.
that is. That's a key mess.
And we're going to improve all the shoulders because people bicycle and walk down to the beach that direction.
Yeah, the shoulder's this big. It's pitted.
It used to be Highway 1, and it actually had a big set of shoulders, but they're all grown in or pitted or
You ever seen the old photos with the Clam Beach Inn and the dance hall?
It was a happening place down there in the day, down by the beach, all these cottages everywhere and all that. So, Hammond Trail, we did all the projects we did. As you know, now there's a great Redwood Trail, which I sit on the board of, but that's south, that's Eureka South.
Sure.
That's happening this summer to be completed all the way around the bay.
Yeah.
But on the Hammond, we've been looking for 25 years to build a connection north to over Little River to Scenic Drive.
That'll be
and
great.
Make that connection. And then, of course, Scenic Drive's a huge issue, but that's outside of McKinleyville. But in my district, Scenic Drive's kind of like our Pebble Beach North, and Pebble Beach Drive without toll stations, thank goodness.
And falling in the ocean.
But it's falling in the ocean. And the good news is it's actually very repairable, but very expensive.
Yeah.
So we had a tour with Congressman Huffman and the Rancheria and the city and land trust and all these people to talk about how we're going to start bringing Scenic Drive back, because it's the coastal trail.
Dude, it's a treasure.
As well as a treasure, access to all these beaches.
And the trail down to Blue Lake, right? Annie Mary?
Absolutely. Yeah. Annie and Mary's part of the Great Redwood Trails effort as well. So
how much of, say, next 10, 20 years, will we see, you and I be alive to see how much of the Great Redwood Trail would be completed, say, south?
Yeah, so we have huge momentum in Humboldt, and actually the other counties are very jealous. They're like, how in the hell you get a... Well, we've been working at it for 30 years.
Right.
This isn't something we started yesterday.
Right.
In fact, I and my cohort, Jen Rice, did the first study of 7 alternative routes around Humboldt Bay back in the 90s, so like 27, 28 years ago.
7.
We put the first study together, which was a grant from the Air Quality Board, because we knew the more we could get people out of cars onto bikes and walking, the less emissions, right? So it was a kind of nice connection that way. Yeah. And so that took 27, 28 years of momentum to now be completing the final leg of Humboldt Bay South into Eureka. And of course, Eureka has embraced the waterfront trail.
Oh, that's great.
Arcata has embraced the trails. They're building a section from Arcata, by the skate park north, all the way up to Corblex, and then eventually to the first park with the Humboldt Bay Water District along the Mad River. And then Annie and Mary segments are starting to happen. There's talk about the Manila Samoa sections, the Carlotta Spur that goes all the way out to Carlotta.
Wow.
Near the Van Dusen River. So these are all going to create incredible economic vitality. And they're very different than fishing and timber and other things that are more extractive, that have their boom in bicycles, including cannabis. And they're more of a long-term sustainable income is what we found across America.
It's going to be great.
As we've converted rails to trails, or in some cases, like around the Bay, it's rails with trails. And of course, Timber Heritage is hoping to really bring back some of the, not just the speeder rides, but eventually a train around some portions of the Bay. And
wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, I think it would be. Trying to figure out how we can have both of those would be a great thing.
Clean industry.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. We're never going to be shipping with train out of here.
Yeah.
If we were Europe, we would have put the $5 billion or more it would have taken to keep the rail open in the canyon, because you would have had to treat every landslide like it's a river of logs, rock, and mud, and suspension bridge it in a very isolated construction environment, right? So big ticket items, but Europe does that with their train systems.
Yeah.
We don't in America.
Oh, Europe's amazing. We got back from Amsterdam, and
train system's amazing. Yeah.
Oh man, it's just
I took it out of
Why
Amsterdam,
would you own a car there?
Everybody starts in Amsterdam.
Yeah. It's all trains and bikes and mass transit and trams and buses, and it's like Joni loves it.
And they got canals, people on little boats and canals.
There's canals. So wrapping up, what do you want your legacy to be? What would you, if you could choose your legacy or tombstone, what do you want us to say at your celebration of life?
That he kept growing up and learning along the way, and that he used that gift of growing up and having good mentors and teachers to learn how to respect each other, and even though there are differences, figure out how to work together. Something like, he really liked working with people and trying to help us all work together.
Like it.
Something like that would be a great moniker. That's like I said, I think that's what gets me up every morning to try and...
It's good.
There's plenty of stuff to work on.
Gosh, it's such a rare commodity in a battle-worn world right now. It's like,
it is.
Oh my gosh.
I think our board exemplifies this very thing right now. Many people might think that there's such huge differences between me and Rex or Michelle or Mike or Natalie or whatever, and there are. And thank goodness there are, right, Scott? What a boring world if it was all Scotts and Steves.
It's called democracy.
Right. And so really it's not a matter of trying to squash that difference of opinion. It's a matter of each of us learning to hear each other, respect each other, and not feel the need to double down on saying it again to oppose the other person's point of view.
Put on social media.
Which is what makes meetings go forever. Yeah. Frankly, because,
and everybody's tired of it nationally, internationally.
Right. So, and for our staff, frankly, lately we're having like 98% 5-0 votes.
Wow.
Even though there are really big differences of opinion in the discussion.
Nice.
And I got to say, for staff, having a split board, fighting all the time is the worst possible thing you could have.
Yeah.
So when we work better together, I think the county works better together, and we serve the community better. So,
yeah. Maybe Congress could take a lesson.
Well, I think we could all take lessons in that regard. Like I said, my first 4 years, I was a little bit testy, I will say, on the board, challenging on things and stuff. And I realized I wasn't going to change other people, but I could change myself, and I doubled down on that. And I feel grateful I've had good teachers to show me how to do that.
Yeah.
Because it's important work.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for your service.
Thanks for you, Scott.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Any parting shots?
No, I'm glad you're doing this. It's nice to get more voices out there. I like your focus, and
Thanks,
I
man.
appreciate being a guest on the show.
Hey, thanks for coming. Appreciate you.
Bet.
Thanks,
All right.
Steve.
You bet.